My apologies, this double bill for hashtag Top 10 Thursdays is as late as it was last week, but I decided, to leave it behind until Monday just like I did for last time due to just how busy I was once again. Regardless, there are no end of adventure pack levels in Skylanders, and unfortunately that means that you have to dish out a lot of money for a adventure pack just for the sake of one level, mind you. But that's what's great about Skylanders, and it's exemplified through these adventure pack levels, because not only do you get the digital content found within the level, but you also get the physical adventure pack piece to go alongside it. So that's effectively what this top 10 is going to be counting down. Now, the actual quality of the level itself and the digital prowess that this adventure pack can unlock has no hindrance on the list whatsoever. This list is based solely on the quality of the adventure pack piece itself. The physical toy, how good it is. Do I like its design? Does it imply the level's theming all that well? How does it tie into the digital content and everything? So overall, for better design adventure pack pieces and ones that are just more fun physically to handle as if they are toys, are ones that will be getting the lower spots on the list, mind you. Regardless, we're going to roll the intro and then get straight into this top 10, mind you. Coming in at number 10, we have Dark Light Crypt. Now, what I really love about this is the actual mold itself, because of course we've got the skull on top of the chamber with the wings coming out of the skull. It's really detailed and very well textured. It's really fun to rub your handle on the wings per se, because it's got all of the little increments that are required from the plastic to make them just look and function just like real wings, mind you, and there's that flexibility to it too that allows them to be played with like their wings, so to say. And I also love the fact that even the back of the figurine is detailed, because you have the fence running along the outskirts. And above all, this is just a really eerie, atmospheric piece, especially when you look into the crypt itself, because you have a staircase which leads to nowhere, and at a right angle it casts nothing but darkness going up the stairs, mind you, with wide open indoors that are of course alluding to the fact that you go to the underworld. I kind of wish the stairs were going downwards rather than up, because that way it would solidify the fact that you're going to the underworld, the land of the undead, so to say. But that's just a small nitpick I have with the figurine, along with the fact that it's kind of got a basic shape to it. It's a glorified cuboid, in other words, and it's a bit too chunky as well, despite the fact that the texturing is great. For the rest of the shape of the mold isn't, but it's just got some really awesome design here. As I said before, it's atmospheric, very eerie, and really gives you the idea that you're going to be traveling into the underworld by placing this item onto the portal of power. It's just ultimately those nitpicks I was explaining about before that hold it back from being the best adventure pack piece, mind you, so that's why it comes in at number 10. Coming in at number 9, we have Dragon's Peak. Now, I love the colorization of this figurine, because the gold and the green, well, they don't really contrast each other very nicely, which means that the eyes don't really stand out from a distance, unfortunately. But apart from that, they are very nice shades. And there's a lot of detail on the figurine as well, especially if you look at these parts of the figurine in particular. So you can see small little scrapes that would have been made to this adventure pack piece, because, of course, in the context of the adventure pack, it's an old sacred area to the dragons, which has no doubt existed for a very long time. So the rustic type look to it, and of course the damage it was sustained over time, all makes sense within the context of the level. And what I love about it too is that it gives off this utopian feeling to it, because of course you can go up the stairs along the back, which is again very well detailed and truly feel like real stairs, and then you get to a diving board which allows you to dive into the pool below. So this figurine kind of has a story behind it, so to say. And I just love the fact that, once again, just like the Dark Light Crypt, it brings together multiple different pieces to create one complete design. You have the horns, you have the wings, you have the mouth, the eyes, the nose. It just all comes together to look like a glorified dragon, in other words. Now, unfortunately, its shape isn't all that exciting. Once again, it's more of a glorified cuboid than anything. but it just has so many details incorporated into it. It just looks the part and really gives you the idea that you're traveling to an ancient utopia type world designed for dragons, which is why the Dragon's Peak itself has so many iconic dragon parts incorporated into it, like, of course, as I said before, for sharp teeth, for horns, for wings, etc., and of course the tail, which is incorporated into the stair design, which just means that all of the parts feel interconnected and just makes the figurine as a whole feel very well thought out and very well designed indeed, putting it at number 9 on this list. Coming in at number 8, when it comes to the shape of the Tower of Time, it's quite clearly the most boring one yet. Even the base itself is very cube-like, and so you can say that for the rest of the figurine. Since it's tall, it's thin, and it's so cuboid based, it makes it so it's not very fun to pick up because the texture itself isn't all that great either, and doesn't take advantage of what the designs are implying. But what's so great about this adventure pack piece is the attention to detail. The brickwork looks phenomenal. They look like actual bricks, which is just a sheer amount of detail that did not need to be incorporated, and yet the designers did it anyway. And then there's also the clocks, the fact that the clock faces change every side, or for every face even, of a figurine. You know, it really gives you the idea of that you're going to be time traveling in this level, so this conveys the perfect idea for the level going ahead. You know, it creates great foreshadowing, and it's quite atmospheric too, surprisingly, you know, because there's that mystery behind it. I also love the detailed windows as well. You know, they actually look like actual window frames, with that cartoony aesthetic to them as well, to make the adventure pack piece kind of fit in with the rest of the Skylanders, mind you, since of course the windows are kind of full of light and doesn't have anything blocking them like they would realistically, so that's ultimately what makes it more cartoony and less realistic. But above all, it's just the attention to detail that didn't need to be added to this figurine, and yet they did it anyway. So the fact that they went above and beyond for this figurine is what puts it at number 8 on the list, even if its shaping is a whole lot more boring than the others. At number 7, we have Midnight Museum. Now, my main problem with this piece right here is that the colours kind of blend together. They're not very contrasting. The blues, the purple, and the blacks just look far too similar, and because of that, it's not very distinctive as a figurine. And it's also got a very boring shape to it. What is cool about it, however, is that you can kind of treat it almost sword-like with the handle, and then the little thin sharpened parts at the top just looking kind of blade-like, so that's pretty clever, at least, even if it is slightly boring and more generic than other adventure pack pieces, mind you. But the attention to detail of this figurine is phenomenal. Even when you compare it to the Tower of Time, you have once again scrapes and cuts at the very top to signify, you know, battle damage and the ancientness of this area you're going to be exploring. And then I also love the small little increments on this part of the figurine right here, you know, what would be the handle if you were to look at it at a perspective of it being a sword type shape, mind you. It also reflects light very well, as you can see in the camera, thanks to the colorization of the figurine, even if I was kind of bashing on that earlier. But ultimately, you know, the little silver increments are just so well detailed and make the figurine just so well thought out. And that's ultimately what makes it so much fun to look at up close, mind you, because as I said before, from a distance it kind of all blends together and isn't all that distinctive. So it's a shame they put so much detail into a figurine you can barely see. Once you get up close and personal with it, it kind of mesmerizes you. And hey, it's shaping whilst being kind of generic and not got much to stand out from it. It is at least more exciting than the previous iterations on the list, mind you. Next up, we have the Pirate Seas. Now, what I love about this is that it has everything you'd expect to see from a pirate ship. It has the wooden decks so well detailed so that then you can make out every single wooden plank, making this truly feel man-made and incorporating a lot of detail into it. And you also have the ocean for anchor, for little masthead thing, which in and of itself is incredibly detailed, because upon it you can see, if my camera even wants to focus, that is for eye patch, for sharp teeth, for nose, and of course what signifies hair in this case. It looks so damn cool, and even the mast itself has little patches from where it would of course been damaged, and it has the traditional pirate insignia with, rather than being a skull and crossbones, it's kind of like a dragon skull with crossed swords. Even the deck itself is really detailed with cannons and once again some really great woodwork, which is consistent with the rest of the figurine's design. So above all, this figurine goes above and beyond to truly give it that pirate-esque feel, and it builds the atmosphere and tension that that the level possesses before you even place it on the portal, because of course pirates are ruthless, merciless, pretty scary. So the fact that this ties in so heavily to the pirate themes and the pirate aesthetics just makes it something look really, really cool, and it's so different in comparison to other adventure pack pieces because it's so unique in shape, because it's so thin, like an actual pirate ship, once again, truly conveying the idea that pirates are behind this level and that they will be a massive threat to deal with. The golds and the browns and the blue of the sea also contrast each other much more nicely than previous adventure pack pieces, just making this an absolute stand out upon the shelf, especially in comparison to other adventure pack pieces, which is why it's as high as number 6 right here. The main problem with it is that the figurine itself is very flimsy, especially the mast. The plastic used isn't sturdy enough, and it can create for some very easy damage upon the figurine, and you don't want to damage a figurine this good. So a little more thought put into the mast design of the physical figurine would have been appreciated, but that's more of a nitpick than anything, and so that's ultimately what makes Pirate Seas good enough for number 6 spot on the list. Coming in at number 5, we have the Enchanted Elfin Forest, simply because it stands out so well amongst the other adventure pack pieces for being something that has really great contrast and colours, the lush greenness found within the leaves, the gold and the blue found within the entrance, and then the actual tree itself with, of course, the increments inside of it, you know, showing the tree rotting away from the insides of it, and then the outsides being a whole lot more, you know, preserved and pristine. Just gives it that realistic feeling, which adds to your immersion of what's to come, because you could imagine a figurine or a tree even being this detailed in real life, mind you, which unfortunately, taking away that cartoonesque aesthetic does make it feel like it fits in less with your other adventure pack pieces, but that just helps make it stand out even more thanks to just its sheer amount of detail put into every single element of this tree, from, as I said before, the contrast and colours of the gate to the bark of the tree, and the figurine itself is also incredibly well textured. The tree itself, because of the increments, feels like you're rubbing your hand along a real tree, and you can say the same about the leaves, with the fact that, you know, if they kind of like sharp and stick out almost like real life leaves on a tree, mind you. So the texturing is phenomenal. Unfortunately, the figurine itself is kind of uninspired. I mean, it's a tree, we see those every single day of our lives almost, but the amount of detail they put into this tree to make it contrast with adventure pack pieces and make it truly stand on its own is what makes this adventure pack piece so incredible. But coming in at number 4, we have Nightmare Express. Now, what I love about this is that, once again, just like the Pirate Seas, it takes every part of a train and incorporates it into a figurine to make it feel like a real train and just invest you further into the piece and make you so pumped to play the level, mind you, because trains are pretty awesome, mind you, and so having one that you yourself can recognize is really, really cool. You have the train tracks at the bottom on the base, which is once again a unnecessary detail that's so cool to see, mind you. Then of course you have the plough at the front, the little funnel for the steam to come out of, and then the back where of course the driver would sit and the coal would be left, and of course there's even a door leading into it, which is really detailed thanks to the little embedments made into the figurine. My hair was not meant to be part of this figurine showcase, by the way, but as I digress, you've even got little scrapes on the top of the engine right there, once again to show age, so to say, because it's a steam engine, it's old, it's very fantasy based as well, with it of course, you know, having a face and everything, which just again adds more detail to it, because it might be a train, but it's awfully cartoonish and stylized, with the face being added to it. It just shows a lot of thought and effort was put into this design, and once again the detail is unparalleled, with the train tracks being left below it, all of the little cuts and scrapes it has. It just makes it such a fun figurine to look at, especially someone like me who loves himself a good train, mind you. At number 3 we have Sunscraper Spire. I love this figurine because first of all the plastic used is very clever, because it's kind of translucent, like allowing light to literally pass through it. So of course, you know, it really does establish the fact that this is a light based figurine for you to, of course, admire. And then I love the fact that the towers stretch away from each other and then are connected by this one central piece that once again emphasizes the light element, with, of course, its incredible detail placed into it, including the light symbol and, of course, a shape that looks just like the sun, mind you. This whole aesthetic really matches the light element and puts across the right idea that you are going to be tackling a light level as soon as you place this onto the portal. And above all, it also means that with a translucent plastic, when it lights up on the portal, it truly carries the glow throughout the entire figurine. At least I'm pretty sure these are light core, because that's what I remember about them, and they're pretty memorable adventure pack pieces, because the architecture here is just so unique in comparison to other adventure pack levels. It might be tall and thin, sure, but there's no other adventure pack level that has, you know, two towers moving away from each other that are connected by one single central piece. It almost looks sword-like, just like the Midnight Museum, but with a much cooler architecture to it. So the fact that it looks cool, it functions well to allude to what the level might be looking like, and, you know, truly expand upon the world of Skylanders, because this is an expansion, not even an expansion level, it's introducing a whole new expansion element. So yes, this figurine serves its purpose very, very well and shows off some really great design work with some really unique looking architecture. But number 2 on the list is going to be the Griffin Park Observatory. As you can tell, I love the adventure pack pieces from Imaginators, and I wish they did more of them because they are just that good. The silver, the gold, and the blue are highly contrasting to make this figurine really stand out because it's so visually pleasing to the eye. The figurine itself has very unique proportions because it's not symmetrical, making it feel very unique and distinctive. Because of course this side is nothing like this side, and then not to mention the wide scope and scale of this huge observation deck just truly gives you the idea of grandness and just how expansive the level at hand is going to be. So the allusion to a big wide level due to just how wide the figurine is shows some really great design effort made by the modelers, and it's just such a detailed figurine. I could stare at this thing for hours because it's so visually pleasing due to the contrast and colours, and just the fact that it's so detailed. Like, once again, you can see the little increments in the wood portions of the little observation deck, and then you can see the scrapes from the domed area of it all, and then the little door from the inside of the cog right there. Man, it is so damn cool, and words cannot emphasize how cool it is, but it still pales in comparison to one particular adventure piece, which is none other than the Mirror of Mystery. Now sure, it's kind of oval based and awfully thin towards the side right here, which isn't for great in terms of shape, and mind you, but it more than makes up for that in the texturing of the figurine, because first of all it has that material which, dependent on its angle towards the light, changes its picture. So naturally that kind of material on the figurine has a really nice texture into it. It's so fun to rub your hand along it because of the natural feel of the material used. And then the wings, the angel wings, and of course the demon wings are once again contrasting in texture as well as colour to emphasize each side of Eon. And the fact that, you know, they take an iconic NPC, the first NPC you think of when the name Skylanders is dropped, because, you know, he's your mentor throughout the whole thing, and then making him evil-like and have such a sharp contrast from the process just brings a lot of personality to this figurine. And it's so much fun to just, of course, keep adjusting its angle to the light, so you can just keep flipping between the two eons. That is just some really great design work and truly emphasizes what the Mirror of Mystery is about. This whole mirrored universe where the bad guys become good and the good guys become bad. It's truly amazing design work for this figurine. So I love the texturing, I love the design here, I love its foreshadowing of the level at hand, and I love the fact that it takes your knowledge of Skylanders and flips it upside down in order to create a very memorable piece that truly does create the idea of mystery living up to the Adventure Pack level's name. But that's going to do it for this top 10 video. I sure hope you guys enjoyed it. Let me know your opinions on these Adventure Pack pieces, or at least the physical toys to them, in the comment section below. And I'll be seeing you hopefully next Thursday without delay for another top 10. And until that moment arises, peace.